all three Cascadia boys can use the 2022 offseason as an opportunity to reinvent themselves. Listen, I didn't see this day coming. I didn't see a day coming where all three Cascadia boys were going to miss the playoffs. Or at least two out of the three. At least Seattle and Portland. I mean, no disrespect to you, Vancouver, but you're not up there when it comes to top teams in the West. Ever since Bruce Arena left the Western Conference for the East, Seattle and Portland has carried the West for nearly 10 years. From 2014 to 2022. Half a decade, Seattle and Portland has carried the West. So to see two Western giants fall in 2022 the way they did, one of them fell with honor and dignity, and the other one fell in disgrace. The team that fell in disgrace was Portland. And the reason why I say they fell in disgrace is not only were they eliminated from playoff contention on decision day, Portland, you also have an ownership issue that you won't be able to ignore. Now, I did not read the Yates report. I plan on reading it sometime this offseason. Once we get deeper into the playoffs and we get closer to the MLS Cup championship, I'm going to start reading it. But the word is that Portland Thorns and Portland Timbers owner, that he should, be punished. And a lot of women's soccer fans are saying that not only he should be forced to sell the Portland Thorns, but he also should not be affiliated with the MLS. What American women in Portland are saying is that American soccer should disassociate themselves from Merritt Paulson. Now, recently, like last week, Paulson said that he was stepping away from decision-making roles, but that may not be enough. That may not be enough to satisfy women's soccer fans and probably MLS fans in that particular region. And this is going to hurt the Portland Timbers. The longer this prolongs, the more it's going to hurt Portland's organization. It's going to really prevent you from attracting big name players. It's just going to hurt your organization. You're going to lose investment, and you're going to lose donors. You're not going to have a clean relationship with the Portland community. It's just going to hurt you, Portland Timbers, if you don't make a decision, or you MLS in general, if you don't make a decision on the future of Paulson, Merritt Paulson. Maybe this may have to be like an NBA situation where all the owners get together and force Paulson to sell the team. It may have to reach to that point. But I'm not going to talk too much about it because, like I said, I have not read the Yates report. The one thing I do know is Merritt Paulson, being owner of the Portland Timbers, it is going to hold this team back for a very long time. They are going to lose investment because a lot of people want him gone. A lot of women are in that area are uncomfortable with him being a leader. So Portland, you got some tough decisions to make in the near future. And you have to act fast, Portland, because the league is getting tougher. It's getting tougher by the day. It's getting tougher by the week. It's getting tougher by the month. This is the fastest growing league in America. And teams are becoming more and more competitive overnight. So Portland, you don't have time to waste. So you got to make a decision fast. Now, as for the Cascadia boy that fell with honor, the Seattle Sounders, I just want to say congratulations to you, Sounders. Because out of all the MLS teams, you have far exceeded expectations. When you started in 2009, nobody expected you to emerge as the face of the MLS. A lot of MLS fans, a lot of them expected LA Galaxy and DC United to remain the face of the MLS. And maybe Columbus Crew every now and then make a run, but nobody really expected you to have the kind of run that you had. Ever since you started in 09, you never missed the playoffs until this season. So you went on 13 straight seasons of making the playoffs. And within that 13 straight seasons, there was a stretch where you were a top 5 seed for at least 5 or more seasons. Seattle Sounders, you have far exceeded expectations. And even though DC United and LA Galaxy is more popular and LAFC is more popular, Seattle Sounders, you as an organization, your overall record, your overall resume, you are better than those teams based on the amount of work you put in during your time period. You're a team that won a rebranded CONCACAF Champions League. A CONCACAF Champions League that had the teams play more games than the former CCL competitions. Which means the version of the CCL that you played in, Sounders, was much tougher than the version that LA Galaxy and DC United played in. Because of that, your CCL title trumps LA Galaxy and DC United's CCL title because your CCL competition was much tougher. The games were more rigorous. The amount of games to be played was much more. The teams have gotten better. The speed of the game has gotten better. The players have gotten better. So you're facing tougher competition in your CCL than DC United and LA Galaxy. And when I say tougher competition, I'm not talking about the brand of teams. Maybe DC United and LA Galaxy were playing the top popular Mexican teams. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the overall level of play. MLS players in the late 90s and the early 2000s wasn't as talented as MLS players today. The skill and the development of players wasn't the same back then as it is now. Combine all of that, that what makes the Sounders CCL title run better than LA Galaxy and DC United. Seattle Sounders, you may not be a national brand. You may not be a global brand, but you are the face of the MLS. And being a face of the MLS means that you have to be willing to make changes when changes are necessary. And because you didn't make the playoffs, you have to rebrand yourself. You have to regroup. You have to see what went wrong. The game is quickly changing every day. LAFC has changed the game. College football recruiting is the new normal in the MLS. That having multiple valuable players available to play during a long, rigorous MLS season, during a long, rigorous US Open Cup run, during a long, rigorous CCL run, during a long, rigorous Leagues Cup run. All of that is important. You need more valuable players. You can't just be a team where you have few solid starters and then the rest of the players you just rely on your farm system. That's not going to work. You need a couple valuable players that can take you through a long season. So Sounders, you have to rebrand yourself. Lastly, Vancouver. Vancouver, I told you earlier this season that come from behind playoff glitching that you did in 2021, you wouldn't be able to do that in 2022 because the league has gotten tougher. That miracle run that you had in 2021 where you're at the bottom of the Western Conference in the first half and then you're able to make the playoffs on decision day, you are not going to be able to do that for 2 seasons in a row. You cannot live on that. Vancouver, you got to have a better philosophy in 2023. This notion where I can start the season really bad, be at the bottom, and I still have enough time to catch up in the second half of the season, that's not going to work anymore. Maybe that worked in the old MLS. And maybe it's something that Seattle used to do too, which is probably another reason why they're sitting at home this fall. But Vancouver, that's not going to work. The league is getting tougher. The league is becoming more competitive. Teams are getting more money. Teams are willing to spend. The Apple TV deal is going to provide an opportunity for teams to add more DPs. The Apple TV deal will also hopefully help these teams become more valuable, which means bigger salary cap. Management groups will have more money to spend money to attract more players. More Europeans or players are starting to pay attention to the MLS. And it's not only those who are considering retirement, but guys in their mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s. The MLS is being viewed as a legitimate league worldwide. So Vancouver, you can't have this old early 2000 or 2010 mentality where we can just be average and get a couple ties in the first half of the season. And then in the second half, like the last month of the season, we can turn it around and still make the playoffs. That's not going to work, Vancouver. So my final word to you, Cascadia boys, don't get left behind in the West, because the Cali boys, they're going to be back in 2023. The Texas boys, they're going to be back in 2023. And when I say Cali and Texas boys, I'm also talking about San Jose and Houston. All three Cali boys and all three Texas boys is going to be back in 2023. Minnesota, they're going to be a contender in 2023. Salt Lake, they're going to be a contender in 2023. You got a new team in St. Louis. They're going to try to make some noise because they see what Charlotte was able to do in their first year. Charlotte almost made the playoffs in their first year. St. Louis is seeing what Austin was able to do in their second year. So St. Louis is going to try to make some noise in 2023. Don't get left behind, Cascadia boys.